Something what I have done, Snehal, on the way. Now, it just sort of happens, I guess, as a fringe benefit of being a content marketer and content strategist as my core strength. I
Mhm.
write and express a lot. So for me, if any situation has come in where I was feeling lonely or I was not able to find a clear answer, I've written it down. A lot of coaches also do recommend journal writing as one of the solutions to battle anxiety, stress, or any other emotional overwhelming response or experience anybody is having. What are your thoughts on this, and how can this be made an integral part for entrepreneurs out there?
Oh, you actually reminded me. So earlier, when I used to not find a space to vent out, and I knew that, not everyone is as tech savvy as I was in those days, I should literally put it out on a blog and just put out an opinion saying, this is what my thoughts are. This is how I look at things. I've not been a very journaling person since childhood, to be honest. However, I've developed a beautiful habit of now I call them morning pages, but a habit of writing. If I have an opinion, if want to share something, if I want to just even jot down things all that are cluttered in my mind, writing is my way. And that's what Mind Spirit Works as my publishing company is all about as well. We believe that writing can change everything for you. Writing not only heals you, but it also brings in clarity. It helps you manifest things, but at the same time, it also rewires your brain. One of the reasons why we were told to write something 100 times in school is not because our teachers really hated us. It was because when you're rewriting something, you're actually rewiring your brain. You're actually using all your five senses. See, in
Yeah.
visualization, you're only using your visualization. When people are listening to affirmations, they're only using audio. But when you have to do writing, you're doing everything. There is an ink smell, okay, which also, any smell will always develop a taste in your mouth, whether you like it or not. And then, of course, the other three senses, because you're feeling the pen, you're reading it, there is a noise that is associated with it. Writing changes. Writing changes you as an individual, and it has helped me in nearly every part of my journey. My publishing business wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have chosen to write down my story and submit it. Okay. It wouldn't have started. It was just by fluke. It was never my goal to ever be a publisher in any way. At the same time, I also feel writing helps me think better. It helps me organize my thoughts, especially just dumping out things at times, just if you have 10,000 ideas, just put them down instead of rethinking and overthinking them. And it genuinely slows down your overthinking process to a greater extent. So, yes, my journey with writing is amazing. One more thing that an individual can do or an entrepreneur can do is join groups where there are like-minded people who are not in competition with each other,
Mhm, mhm.
where you can share what you're going through on weekly or at least twice a month basis. That I want to do this, I am doing this, but I'm currently struggling with this. Some challenges may seem very minuscule, like I'm unable to wake up in the morning to just do this one task. It's okay, but when you find a group where you can express, because even with writing, what you're really doing is expressing, and even with your speaking to a crowd who's listening to you, you're expressing. When it's out of your system, you can now see it as a picture in front of you. It becomes easier to now look at the challenge and solve it. It just became lesser in size than how much bigger it was in your mind.
Yep. Yep.
So, expression, I would say, is a key. Find a way to express yourself, either by journaling, writing it down and teaching the world, or just finding a group in which you can trust. It doesn't have to be a huge group, just small groups. There are a lot of people currently hosting groups. Okay, so just do that.
You covered it slightly out there, but one of the challenges is where people fear writing, and more than writing, they fear expressing themselves. So how can these two things be bridged, and people can move to the other side? They start writing.
One of the reasons, and I know I'm going back to the education system, but I don't see that as a challenge when it comes to the Western world. Okay. Because they've always had freedom to write what they want to write. We, unfortunately, have only written when we have to write something which has to be in a format. So even when we're writing an essay, there used to be a format. When we are writing a letter to somebody, it is a format. And irrelevant of which language, like even if I'm talking about writing letters in Marathi, I still know my father will start he still starts a WhatsApp message with Kumari Snehal, okay, or or my pet name. And I'm like, but then I realized this is what we have been doing. The reason why there is a fear of expression is because the fear of judgment, not really a free fear of expression. It is fear of judgment, and we judge ourselves also. So one of the best ways, okay, and not trying to promote or sell anything, but I came across this beautiful book called as The Artist Way by Julia Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
And she says you should write just to write. So even if a thought comes in your mind, there are no thoughts, what should I write? Then you literally write, there are no thoughts, what should I write? And when you begin there and you let just your thoughts flow, then the connection is only between your thoughts and the pen and paper. There is nobody to judge, there is nobody to read. And don't read your readings for at least first 8, 10 weeks. Just keep writing. Focus on one thing at a time. If you're just focusing on getting to writing, just write, write, write. They're anyways your papers. You can go back to them anytime you want.
Yep.
One of the beautiful ways to break this is just write what is coming to your mind. No grammar, no sentence instructions. And one of the easier way to do that is always use a plain paper
Mm-hmm.
rather than using a ruled paper. No lines, just a plain paper. So buy notebooks which do not have any ruled lines, and this nearly help. The second is use your phone voice notes. When no one is there, just record yourself. And at times, take a moment to hear yourself. When we start doing that and you fall in love with your own expression, it becomes easier to express outside. And most times we don't even need to express it to anyone else. We just need to learn how to express ourselves to ourselves. And when that conflict is gone, walking through the world becomes way easier. This is what has helped me as well. I used to fear writing. I used to always feel. So while I did write those blogs and all, I'll be very honest, Pulkit, I never realized I had a knack towards writing, or I loved writing, or I enjoyed writing. That was my way of venting out. That I
Mm-hmm.
need to put my opinion out. Somebody reads it. If nobody reads it, it's at least out of my system. I started feeling the pressure when the first book came out, and now people are like, you should write more. And I'm like, no, I am not a writer. I'm not going to do this again. I just wrote one chapter in one book, and that's about it. However, when I came up with the first book concept, and it was about sharing your experiences, and we'll put them together, and we were going to put some 21 chapters, 21 people together. Every chapter that came in through the email followed with a phone call. And Pulkit, you won't believe whether it was a male or a female that I was communicating with. The common theme of the conversation was, I never thought that I still had not healed out of it. And by writing this, I know now that I'm healed. They were just submitting their chapters, but with nearly every person in that book, when they sent in the chapter, it was followed by a call. And I somewhere knew it was going to be about this. And it was about, I never knew that there were some parts of me still not healed, and now they're healed. That is what writing does, is magic to you. Writing is magical according to me.
Possible to elaborate on any one of the experiences out there without naming anyone, if you can share.
Definitely. So the book that I'm talking about is The Shakti Awakening. Okay. It's a book which has 24 women in it. And there was a story of one person that is there. And then there is one more in Calling. I'll talk about Calling story a little bit later. But there was one story of somebody who recovered from cancer. Okay. Cancer survivor. And she said, Snehal, I thought I had moved on. I got married again. I've done everything. But when I was writing the chapter, I realized there are so many places I had not forgiven myself and others, which I now feel that, okay, I have done and evolved. And 1 year down the line, when we were just sitting, getting together, celebrating the 1 year success of the book, there were a lot of stories from that individual, which made me think the impact that it had on business, the impact on how they carried themselves, the impact on even receiving love and money, which was crazy, because when we hold on to certain things, we start keeping them in our system as beliefs. And something that she had not been doing for a really long time. She was a doctor by profession. She had nearly quit the practice 1 year down the line, and she was helping other individuals now and following her passion. And
Wow.
she's like, had that not happened, I would have probably never realized what I genuinely wanted and who I am as a person. And we had done nothing. We had just asked them to write a chapter. 2,200 words, write a chapter, tell us one part of your life. And that's it.
This brings me to something you talked about, the person healing from it, not being aware that she still had those, I would say, scars who were in some parts which were, letting her build those belief systems.
True.
Now, often as an individual might differ from gender to gender as well out there. A lot of things, we bottle it up, and the pressure starts to build up like a volcano or like a soda bottle. And when that pop sounds happen, there are people within the inner circle, within the outer circle, ready to pass on their judgments like anything, the prejudices being built around them. But they don't realize that it were their actions that got to them to this stage. And now finally, when they're not able to keep it in, they are bursting out, they are venting it out. Instead of comforting them at that time, they pass those judgments, they pass those prejudice and build their negative belief systems about that individual. How as a society can we evolve from this?
I think when we start learning that my communication, I'm responsible for it, okay, is when we will start understanding what is actually happening to another individual. Oftentimes, when it comes to others, we put down values, virtues as a filter saying, if you're doing this, then according to me, you're a nice person. And when it comes to us, we are looking for that little leeway, little freedom, little forgiveness from everyone else. So I think it all starts from knowing that at the end of the day, each one of us is human. And no matter what we do, the foundation of it is always a positive intention. And neuro-linguistic programming actually proves that. It says that every action that we take, every choice that we make, an individual always does what he or she thinks is the best thing for them at that given point in time. So even when somebody is stealing, there is a reason in their mind which is positive for them. And we just take a pause to understand, okay, what was in this positive for themselves?
Mhm, mhm.
We will unveil so many stories. And it's the classic example, if you have two employees for that matter who are sitting in an office, both reached on time, and the boss walks in stomping in, whether a woman or lady boss or a male boss, okay, they walk in stomping into the cafeteria, take their coffee and walk back in. One person is probably thinking, probably it was bad traffic, or he or she had a fight with the spouse, or something went wrong on the way. And there is this another person who is thinking, I think it's my report. He's not happy with the report I sent in, or maybe I made a mistake once again. So you see, there are two point of views. Okay, it's the same that applies when we are looking at anyone else or ourselves. So I would say it's a two-way road, and as a society to evolve, emotions have to be given as much priority as physical wounds are. For emotional wounds, we generally carry a simple language pattern saying, how much are you going to sulk? Move on. But moving on is a physical activity, and emotions don't just move on. They are wounds, they need to be healed, and they need to be seen and acknowledged. Any emotion, the moment it is acknowledged, the healing journey starts. But we choose not to because we have always put things into category. And nowadays we're putting, like earlier, men were into the category of you should not cry. Now it is in, evolving to everybody else also to the same category as well, that you should not express, you should always be strong. And I feel strong is a definition that is been created by the society and not by us.
Yeah.
So redefining what emotions mean, redefining what ideal human being is, has to be the foundation of the next generation. And I would say actually the next generation is blessed. They understand and they're ready to easily talk about it. It is us who put restrictions on it, saying, oh, you should not talk about this. Oh, this is not to be expressed. So I think we need to change for our next generation. Otherwise, we're going to be in a huge generation gap, and it's not going to be an easy one.
Totally agree on that. Just one final question on this aspect of writing to express. It's important to be authentic,
Hmm.
and authenticity has somewhere or the other lots its true meaning. People believe that they're being authentic, they're being truthful, but there's something going on beyond that as well. Like my Instagram handle and my I have an idea of writing a book, so the title is going to be Beyond Untold. So the idea is that only that we say that, okay, we have bottled it all out, we have shared everything, but there are still a lot of untold stories which nobody gets to know. It's just in your head, and that's where those scars remain within you.
True.
So how can that thing be somewhere or the other looked at?
See, again, it comes down to purpose, Pulkit. What do I really want to achieve by sharing? Okay, it does come down to that. I have worked with authors where after reading, like they sold me the manuscript on a call. Okay,
Mhm.
saying this is what I went through and this is why I want to write this book and everything. And when I start reading the book, I know that most of the content is not even yours. Because after reading so many, and then there are a lot of tools to cross-check and verify as well. And then I go back to them and I ask them, what is your intent of actually getting this book out? And you would notice the intent is different. So everything comes down to intent. If your intent is genuinely to inspire, to give somebody a hope of living without caring about what details are you sharing, okay? And that will give you the result that your intent is for. If your intent is to be famous, if your intent is to get that publicity, then that is what it will get you. So the question again comes down to, are you authentic to what your intent is? That is a bigger question that we all need to answer within ourselves before even expressing it on paper or putting it across for the world to read it. If
Mhm.
that uniformity is there, then sharing just becomes a little bit more easier because then it is not contaminated by any thoughts which will take you away from your intent.
Mhm. Mhm.
So authenticity can is again, each word has its own meaning. It's the meaning is what we give to words at the end of the day.
Yeah.
However, for me, authenticity very simply means, are you open to being vulnerable and saying, hey, this is who I am?
Yeah.
And let people choose what they want to learn out of your journey. Rather than you saying, I learned this, so you also learn this. Am I choosing to just put myself out there as who I am, which may show my amazing choices that I made or even the vulnerable choices I made, and let people choose for themselves as to what they think would work out best for them.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that, according to me, would be authenticity. And second, this is something that when it comes to coaches and trainers, I really feel we have to rewrite it and say, are you a living role model of what you're saying? If you're not, please don't put it out in a book and get it out. Because when people actually truly meet you, and if you really become famous, people are going to actually come and truly meet you, they shouldn't find the difference. So it's better to be authentic now and wait for success a little later, rather than going so much for success that maintaining it would then become a challenge. Just be yourself. It is more accepted, and you'll be surprised at the level it is actually accepted.
No, I agree. Vulnerability really brings that emotion and acceptability out in the society. At times it just happened that people might not show it, but yes, somewhere or the other in the inner corners of their hearts, they know we are also going through it, and they send out those positive vibes for you to heal and to overcome.
Absolutely. It's also because that's how we have been taught, right? See, so many years or generations, we have been taught to be polite, to show niceness. If you're going through anything, do not express or share it with the world. Handle your own challenges. And therefore, the fake world somewhere got created, knowingly or unknowingly, because we all wanted to be idle in somebody's eyes, either our parents or either our partners or somebody's eyes. But somewhere we know what we were dealing within. Okay, so when I see that, oh, you have been there, oh, then I know that I've actually connected with you at a true level. I know that you understand, you feel the pain that I feel, you feel the joy that I feel. And even if it is just an acquaintance level, there is a high level of connection that happens, and the flow of ideas, the flow of new things or innovation that comes through that is actually true, because then it is the demand of the universe that you're fulfilling in a way, because you're being true to yourself. So I think that is again one of the ways that society is changing to a greater extent. We are accepting vulnerabilities rather than looking at just the prim and propers.